Today's video covers something that I've actually been wanting to deal with for quite a while now, which is how to brand my work. So I make things wood turning typically and sell them on Etsy and other places. And at the moment, I don't brand them at all. And people have different ways of doing this. Some people will sign their work with an indelible marker, a Sharpie. Other people will actually engrave their signature into the work or their brand into the work. You can buy branding irons. People actually make discs that they sell them on Etsy that they put your brand onto, and then you fix those into your work. Those are all great solutions. They don't work for me primarily because they don't give me an opportunity to buy some new technology, and I'm all about finding reasons to buy new technology. So what I'm going to be looking at today is the way I've been doing it, which is using this laser. So this is a device, it's called an iCube P3. There's plenty of things like this on the market. This is something that I got from Kickstarter. So it was a Kickstarter campaign that was successful. Very happy with it. I'll be making more videos on it. I've actually made a quick start guide for this device because the instructions weren't very good. Battery operated, charges through USB-C. And I'm incredibly impressed with the resolution and the quality of what it comes up with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you the different sizes and the quality and where it started to lose its quality, and then some examples of how I've used it just in my tests, and I think how I'm going to be using it moving forwards. So hopefully this will be useful for you. So most of the work I did initially, I was burning at 45 millimeters. So this is actually has a sort of circle around it. I don't burn the circle, but so it's about a 45 millimeter diameter. And you can see that's really clear. This is red oak that I'm burning on here, just a piece of scrap. And that worked well, dropped down to 25 millimeters, and again, very clear. I was assuming at some point, soon it would start losing resolution. Because it's a laser, it's not terribly sophisticated, and also we're burning on wood, which is a very natural thing, although this is, say, a nice tight grain in this piece of oak. So looking there, that's a 25 mil, so that was 35 mil, this is 25 mil. Now we're down to 15 mil, and that is still, in my mind, very legible. When we get down to 10 mil, I think you can see it's really starting to lose its sort of quality there. And at 5 mil, basically that's just not working. So I was actually really pleased that the 15 mil came out so clearly. When I brand my work, I just want the brand to be there. It shouldn't be sort of really distinct. I'm not selling Coca-Cola or something where the brand is more important than the quality of the product. Please don't sue me, Coca-Cola. So this is one I tested originally. So this was just a little platter I made. I was doing some work on working with turquoise, and I did the 45 mil, and it's lovely and clear, came out nicely. But to me, that is just too much. It's just it's too big for a piece this size. I find it too big for a piece almost any size, with one distinct sort of exception, which I'll talk about. So that was too big for me. I had another piece that was part of the same thing where I was working with a turquoise, obviously a much smaller piece, but that's the 15 mil, and I think that is, perfectly acceptable. It's clear. To me, it doesn't sort of spoil the piece at all. So I think that worked really well. Now I typically like to work in walnut. It's a really nice wood to work with. So I typically turn spheres with pieces in them with resin and things, but I just wanted to try this out. So I just turned sort of part of a sphere on the lathe just to see what it looked like. And initially I just burned the logo at 15 mil there, and I was actually really pleased with that. Thought that was nice. But then I put some walnut oil, which is my favorite finish. It makes, as you can see, it makes the wood so dark. It's food safe. It buffs up beautifully. I haven't buffed this properly yet. And you can see the brand now is you really only see it when you catch the light. It is more like it's engraved into the wood rather than being burned into the wood. And I love that. I just think that is just so nice, because again, I don't want my brand to get in the way of the piece. So by far, if I'm working on something like walnut, 100% I'm going like this. So I just thought that was really nice. Now the exception for wood turners is that when you turn something on the lathe, typically what you'll do is you mount the piece on the lathe, and then you cut a mortise like this into what will be the bottom of the piece, and then you mount it on a chuck, and the chuck arms sit inside this mortise. And then you put it back on the lathe and you finish this and you do all the sanding and you get a nice finish. But then you're left with this mortise. And what you can do is you can put it back on the lathe we have a special kind of chuck, a mortise chuck, a Jacob's chuck that allows you to hold it. And then you can turn this back out again. So you can basically flatten the bottom. It's a bit of a pain. So what I was thinking was, well, if I was to burn my brand in here and then fill it with resin, then what I'm ending up with is it almost looks like it's intentional. It gets the brand sort of hidden away, nicely protected with resin, and saves me having to cut that out. And so I just took a piece of walnut and I cut a mortise into this. It's a little bit hard to catch because the light's sort of catching it. But you can see I then burned in the brand. That's at 45 mil because it's I should have mentioned it's a 55 mil mortise for the chuck that I use. And then I filled it with resin. So you get this, really professional looking finish. Very little work involved. I mean, I did put this in a pressure pot so there's no bubbles in there. You don't really have to do that for a pour that's, like a 1.5 mil thick like this. So I think that's a really nice solution to those pieces. So that's sort of what I came up with. I think, fairly obvious. My favorite is to do a 15 mil and then get the walnut oil on top of there. I would do 45 mil inside of the mortise and fill it with resin to get this effect. And then on other pieces, just a 15 mil sort of subtle, and then finish that. So I'm going to also do another video. I'll link it in the bottom here on when to do the burning. So I tried some different experiments on whether to burn after you've waxed, before you've buffed, etc. So I'll be putting that video up, and hopefully you'll find that useful. So subscribe and you'll get a notification when I release any of those other videos. As I say, hope this works. If you have any questions, any suggestions, tips, please drop them below. I try and be really diligent in responding to those, and hopefully this will be of some help to you.